Alright, this is the test fitting stage. Like now that I've got, oh man, I'd really like to clean up in here, but this is all going to have to wait until engine build time actually happens. So what I'm going to do is, because I just want to understand sort of clearance between plenum, this thing, because I've got to make a blocking plate for this. Ideally, I want to get the intake air temperature sensor because my map is already redundant. I'm using manifold pressure to run the tune, which is even more important when you're running forced induction. But yeah, I'm already running that on my NA setup. So at the moment, the MAF is purely there for air intake temperature, because they are, for anyone that doesn't know, those two sensors are combined. So you've got the manifold airflow sensor, but it also has an air intake sensor in there as well. So what I'm going to do, blank that off, and I'd like to put it in here just for the sake of sort of keeping things neat, wiring on the inside, but if there's no room, then I'll have it installed on the other side. No biggie. All right, so what I want to do now is put my freshly ported lower intake on to test fit this for size. Okay, leave them there because I'm probably going to put them back in. Wow, so fresh, so clean. Yeah. All right, that's the back. I know that's the back because the bolt's there. Probably says front somewhere on it as well. Don't care, I know. Left hand, there you go. Yep, because that is the left side. Good, that makes sense. All right, let's try this out. Gently, because I don't have any gaskets on. Good. I like the fact that there's no movement. Not that it would have from my doing, but just because factory tolerances are so damn tight. That's awesome. Wouldn't it be nice if you didn't have to worry about gaskets? Okay. Slight jam here. No, that's okay. Oh, well, that would have been an interesting little thing. You would have had to install that. So now you know. Okay. Let's just maybe remove this for the second. I'm going to wrap this as well. Maybe I'll get it Cerakoted or ceramic coated, some non-brand name one. But I have gold wrap anyway if I needed to. Obviously I'm trying to minimize scratches here to the mating surfaces as well. That's pretty good. All right. Oh, I didn't even pinch that, which I've done before. Yep. I've had to replace. This is a, oh God, did I do it again? Yeah, that might have been when I've done it a second time briefly. But yeah, no, at one point I did install this for a while before I realized that that was stuck in there and had to take the whole thing off and replace it because it tore it. All right, yeah, you're definitely not removing that MAF sensor while this, if you're using the stock plenum and that's installed. All right, so that's where the throttle body is going to be. Is there room for an air intake sensor? And you've got to be realistic about these things. You've got to measure the entire length. Don't forget to put on the actual plug itself, the connector, to get the full length, because with that done, there's no way I'm going to be able to do that with ease. And even the other side's going to be a bit tight, because that's going to be, so the bung's there, it's going to be sticking out like that. Whew. definitely room there. Is it well, it's the best spot to be in terms of getting the temperature. You want it to be as close to the throttle body as possible. That's the whole point. You could argue to install it into the plenum itself, but the reason people don't do that or argue against doing that is because the plenum is more likely to heat soak. So there's going to be additional temperature there that doesn't necessarily reflect the air intake temperature because it's heated so quickly. So here is really the best spot, like near the throttle body. I think what I could do is put it down slightly. So angle it so it's not straight, even though straight would work. Might as well do some of the fun stuff now that we're at this point here. And that is, I'm talking about plugs, new coils, and the injectors. Just a quick refresher for anyone. A lot of the components that I'm installing in this build are kind of overkill for a stock bottom end VQ35, and that includes the injectors and the coils. So the injectors in particular, you know, they're 1050 cc's. They, you know, I'm not going to be able to hit anywhere near their limit for this build. But the intention is that I will be building the engine in a year or two, and at that point they'll all be put to good use. So I'm trying to apply the buy once, buy right mentality, and hopefully that means that they'll just be understressed in the meantime. Okay, putting the new injectors into the CJ Motorsports fuel rails. So this is from the whole return fuel system kit. Yeah, so I've got the Injector Dynamics ID 1050X, but this is also the XPS or whatever it is. It's not written on here. There is a difference. I can't remember what the last bit is, but basically they're the latest version of the 1050X. So that's good. Pretty simple install. For the 350Z setup, you want to stick with the full length. So these are actually adapters on these injectors. So you can actually take that bracket off, take this off, and then it shortens it. So obviously there's uses for that. The bracket keeps it then at the same length, so 48mm length for the body that you need for this setup. Obviously it does move things around in terms of where the plug is, but that's right, I'm sure we'll be fine. So just a little bit of oil on there to keep it happy, and start popping them in. These are the clips that hold the injectors in place. Well, bracket with bolts. In the stock rails, anybody that's fooled around with these knows that there are clips very similar to this that actually hold it onto the stock fuel rails. So this is moving to a bracket and bolt setup instead. So that just slips in there quite nicely. On the stock injectors, actually, these are a little bit more fiddly to get in and out, because you've got to slide these through the back of this, and to do that you've almost got to push this plastic out of the way. So this is actually much easier. Alright, got these little nice aluminium anodized spacers as part of the kit. Lovely. Alright, let's get this sucker in. Now I've already pre-oiled these slots, so now it's just about getting this in without scratching anything important. Whoa. Absolutely nailed me. Of course it did. There's always fucking something. Oh. Alright, I've been at this for about half an hour now, and I have concluded that this connector is absolutely diabolical for depinning. I've depinned so many of the connectors in this engine bay already, and in the interior. This has got to be the worst I've come across. Like, I'm not even sure these are designed to be depinned again once they're pinned, because, like, I know how to do it, but yeah, I don't know how well this is going to be showing up in there. But, you know, typically there is, you know, a tab that will hold the pin in place. So this is from in here. You'll have a tab that holds that there and locks it from coming out. And basically you just need to, you know, generally speaking, get something underneath the tab. Let's say tab's my fingernail. You would get something underneath there, leverage it up, and then that lets you pull out the pin. And that is also true of this connector, but like, legitimately you need an actual pin to get at the tabs that sit behind these pins. And I've been using these, which are pretty sharp, not quite pin sharp, but I managed to get one out, but I almost feel like I'm destroying. I did break that last time I pulled this apart. I almost feel like I'm destroying the connector just trying to get at the plug, at the tabs. But I've dug out a few more, and I just cannot get the right angle to get underneath them, which is really strange. So difficult as some connectors tend to be, there's always a way to get them off, and you know they're designed to be opened up with minimal fuss. This is just not happening. So fuck it. I'm just gonna cut these. I don't plan on rolling this back to stock in any way, or being able to roller back, and worst case scenario, you can always just splice these wires in if you wanted to, but that's not what I'm doing. So I'm just going to cut these wires, because the whole point of what I'm doing here is I don't use the MAF anymore, and you'll see in another video that I've actually plugged up the MAF port on my new intake, and I'm going to be using these two wires, which I'm 90% sure are the correct wires, for the intake air sensor, which is now I've got welded into a bung on the intake sensor, so it's going to sit up around here somewhere. So I'm going to splice these two wires. I believe this is the 5-volt in, power in, and this is the sensor ground. So I'll just extend these wires, sheathe them up and run them under here. Good to go. And these ones will just get folded back and hidden out of way. Adapters have arrived. This is the US car to Denso adapter, because of course the Nissan wiring is, or Nissan wiring is for Denso, but my new ID plugs are US car. I've already put one side on for the CZP GTR coil bracket over here, as you can see. So I'm just going to put this one on as well. Of course, it has an arrow pointing which direction it's supposed to face, so don't do that. Now I'm playing with fire, putting bolts into open plug tubes, but that's right. With rerouting the power cable, this is the one that runs to the alternator, and also this one here which runs down to the starter, they would normally come down this way and around, so there's more length to it, particularly this one. But as it's all sort of pulled off to the side to make way, there's quite a lot of slack down here, and it puts it right near the exhaust. So I'm going to try and pull the cable further down from the bottom, and then see what I can do about getting some heat shielding for this as well. The rest of it should be fine. Possibly this could do with some, but yeah, it'll live.